Welcome to Friday Football Focus with myself, Chris Cave. Tony Mepham is here, and we also have Carl Roberts this evening joining us talking about Masters football. It's a game which I enjoy watching on TV, actually. You see legends of the past taking to a sports field once again. I saw JJ Okocha, I think, featuring for Nigeria in the World Cup of the Masters recently, anyway. I can't remember exactly when it was. Do you feel legendary status when you step onto the field, Carl Roberts, an experienced man of Manx football? Do you feel like you have that stature as well when you take to the field?
That's very kind of you to say that, Chris. I love it. I love playing, and I want to play as long as I can. I'm getting a bit long in the tooth now. I'm 47, but I'm here to try and encourage the other guys to come through and play themselves. And we're going to talk about that with Tony in regards encouraging more people to come through and getting the Ireland team back up again.
And before we do that, let's just talk about Masters football, educate those who may not know what it's about, but it's 35 and anyone who's aged 35 and over to continue playing football. I'll hand you over to Tony Mepham to reveal more about how this season has developed.
I think this season, I went down to watch the two semi-finals of the FA Cup Masters last week and went in to speak to the Colby boys, see Bruce and whoever's in there. My mate wasn't there, Charlie Omar, but Carl was there, and it was one of those, we had a good chat really for 10 minutes, quarter of an hour. And it's worrying me a little bit, Masters football, because 2 or 3 years ago, it was absolutely flying. But for whatever reason this year, we've had a lot of what's called walkovers. If you can't field a team, then the game is awarded to the other team. And also what happened is we had a great sponsor in Paddy Power who was so behind the Masters setup. It was brilliant, which allowed us to have an Ireland squad. The boys would go away, play games, and teams used to come over and play us as well. We tweaked with the rules last year because there was a bit of a dream team starting to form, and that's not what Masters football is all about. We like to see, if we can, is ex-players. Like say Carl played for Peel, Colby, Russian, so go and play for one of those clubs. And like Corinthians, we try to, keep Corinthians players. Sometimes you can't, but I don't know what it is, Carl. This season, and my club's been guilty twice of not being able to field a team, and it seems to be a problem. Why?
Well, from a personal perspective, we're very lucky, Colby. We've got great facilities there. You just mentioned before when we were off there about Corinthians are coming up, and I hope that comes off for you. But I feel like it's a very good thing that we've got at Colby, good facilities there, and we've got a really good, strong, large squad, and you really need that. Really need that. So from a personal point of view, we haven't had any issues at all. We're training on a Tuesday night down there. So yeah, I'm feeling a bit disappointed with the other guys that can't field the teams, but hopefully we can talk now and maybe put some ideas out there and get more guys involved. Yeah.
When you say training, sorry Chris, it's not that serious because really
we have a match. We have a match, and it's a bit of banter, and there's younger guys involved as well. I mean, my lad's 13. He comes down with me, and he absolutely loves it because we're all grown guys. We're not there to chip at him. We're there to encourage him, and he's, sometimes he enjoys it more than going to his own sort of age group training at Peel. Yeah. So it's a dads and lads thing, possibly, that you might want to mention that to the Corinthians guys or something, and the other lads.
What is the appetite like for Masters football on the island? Because I suppose it's for those players. You mentioned the competitive nature of it. I'm sure there's a lot of people who do play Masters football because they possibly don't have the stamina or the time or whatever to play competitive football in the combination or in the Premier League, in JCK Division 2. Maybe their legs have given up on them or something. But this is still a way to keep active, to keep involved in football. And I'm sure the fun, the entertainment, the excitement and the competition, the competitive nature of football is still there, ingrained in Masters football.
Definitely is. I mean, Tony was there last week at the Peel Colby game, but it's half of the team's ex-Russian lads anyway. So it feels to me like an old firm game from years ago. I'm still playing against like some Mozzie and not so much Lacey and Hurt now, but yeah. I mean, there you go. I mean, I know you sort of, there's a potential criticism there with some first team lads coming in from Peel previously last year or the year before. But Dominic McGreevy, what a player he is, by the way. I mean, I don't know what level he's played at. I heard he's in Belfast or somewhere. But if he's attracted to play in that Masters game, you know, surely there's more. I mean, look at the guys we've got: Justin Hawley, Andy Baker, Ted Pepper, Christian Stereopoulos here. Ryan Denham's just been persuaded by us to come out. What a player!
Yeah.
What tackles he was putting in were clean. They were clean, but they were hard.
That's a new thing he's brought into his game.
Yeah. But you've got so many great players there that could get into that in an Ireland team easily. You'd have a really strong Masters Ireland team. I feel it's just obviously the sponsorship is a hurdle.
Is that the ultimate aim, to make it an island-wide thing where you get an Island man Masters team who goes across to the UK or elsewhere in Europe, elsewhere in the world, represents the Isle of Man on a multinational scale and probably does quite a good job, because there are many footballers out here who have played to a decent standard. They get to 35, maybe they've got other commitments and they can't commit all their time to playing football, and perhaps this is ultimately where the problem therein lies, because if you don't have the time to play football on a weekend, you might not have time just to spare for Masters, even though it is a shorter game time.
It is tricky. Yeah, it is tricky with them. I've got 2 kids myself, so I do understand that you've got to have a sort of patient wife in the background there and encouraging you to do that. Talking about kids though, that's another point I want to make, was like trying to push more, get the word out there to the younger lads, to the junior teams and the coaches. I know we spoke briefly about the age limit on kids playing for the seniors was 16.
Yep.
When was that brought in then? Was that like...
That's the English FA.
Right, it's English FA, right.
The Isle of Man FA have no control.
Yeah, so was it, I mean, just going back to years ago, I mean, I was talking to Nicky Gerrard, luckily I haven't seen him for a few years there. I was out for a few pints at Cheltenham on Friday, nipped into one of the boozers, and he was playing for Peel at 14. Now, obviously he's a tank, you know, he was a hell of a player, wasn't he? I didn't play much against him, but I had a season at Pulley with he took me under his wing. Actually, he's a lovely guy, isn't he?
Great player.
You probably know him more personally than me, but just I feel that if a lad's physically big enough and he can be approached and say, look, you know, do you fancy coming training with the first team? I'm not saying playing for the first team, because I understand the rule is you're not allowed in the dressing room until you're 16 or something like that. Yeah. Is that right? Is that correct?
Well, sort of thing. I think the safeguarding issues are huge. We've got to take note of what's gone on in the UK.
Yes.
The English FA are putting us under, I wouldn't say pressure, because at the Isle of Man FA, it's easy for us to achieve because we want it to happen. The clubs want it to happen. It's just making sure that everything is in place. But where the problem goes, I think, is certainly with girls' football. There's some really good footballers over here. The English FA are trying to promote women's football and get it going. We're on a small island, limited numbers to get these players out of. Why can't they drop the age band down to 15 and possibly even senior men? And my view is, if the parents are happy for the child to play, then not necessarily if there's a guardian there, but if they signed a document to say that they were happy with that, fine, because senior football, there wouldn't be a problem any 15-year-olds coming in. And I just wonder, when I look at the state of football in general, to be honest with you, is this damaging it, Carl? And I don't know if you agree, being restricting these players to 16 years of age when suddenly they start working.
You're right.
And things like that.
I think you're absolutely spot on there with the 15. I think 14 is probably a little bit too young, because I'm with the under 14s at the moment. And Sam Brown, another top coach. His young fella Thomas, by the way, he's will play. He's going to be in the future.
Better than Sam.
Well, I'll let you speak to Sam about that. I don't want to say that to him in his face. But no, I think 15 would be the ideal age. I mean, you've obviously got these guys have got to be responsible coaches, and and there are a lot of responsible and good coaches around, and they can see that lad there is physically capable of coming up to, into the first team training, maybe not even playing, but likes of an example would be Bella. Danny Bell and Mark Kelly at Peel. When they won the Railway Cup there, how long ago was that? 2003 or whatever, up at Ramsey. I can't remember if they were 16 or 18 at the time, but they had been selected, picked out by Rick and the coaching staff there at the time as easily, first team prospects. So they were probably brought on at 16, 15, 16, and we're going to training sessions I don't know that. I'll have to ask them personally, but those guys have gone on. I mean, they're still playing for the Island now, aren't they? They're 30 maybe.
Yeah, I think Dan's 30. Yeah, Mark's just turned 30.
And I think you're spot on. Sorry, just to finish there. I think you're spot on with a 15 because I remember from my sort of personal situation back when I was 15. You are correct where you feel like I'm leaving school next year, and you're kind of in a sort of drift world. You don't know what you're going to do, and if a senior lads could come and say, "Well, come on, we're going to give you this training program, and we got this this long term plan for you to get into straight into the combi. If you're obviously good enough, you'll be in there straight away. But the first team, and then you've got a long focus then, and because I drifted away from football, I got a heavy injury when I was 15. I was junior Ireland stuff with Johnny Palmer and a few other great lads like him. We went away, came back, and I got an injury when I got back at my local park. Yep. And then I was angry at that. It was a really bad injury, and I drifted out of football. It was only through I was in the pub one night, pumping money into the machine, having a cigarette, having a smoke or whatever, and one of the older lads at Colby in Russian, John Critchley, said, "What are you doing? What are you doing with your life? And it flipped a switch, and I got back in luckily. And I was about 21 then, and I'm 47 now. I'm playing, so loving it. So.
I'm still playing very well.
Loving it. Well, thanks. I don't know how I'm doing it, but I'll buy you a pint for that one.
It does show that sport means so much to a lot of people. It gives people a purpose, something to do. It's a great social activity as well. We are talking about Masters football here on Friday Football Focus. Carl Roberts, Colby player, is in the studio alongside Tony Mepham. One hole I can pick in your theory of talking allowing younger players into the game, and you've both used numbers, 15, 16, 17, whatever. Surely it's not about your age and the number next to your date of birth. It's more to do with how developed you are as a player. And I remember there was talk in the UK, this was several years ago, about do the Football Association make players who are too young take to an 11-a-side, a full-size football pitch too early, because it only proves popular with those who are more physically developed. And if you're a late bloomer like myself, some would say I still haven't bloomed, then it doesn't help you. It doesn't help your development at all. It only helps those who are bigger and stronger and who can punt the ball a lot further.
That's right.
But if you have an opinion on this, 166 177 to text in, or you can email studio@manxradio.com. Now, this is quite an interesting question which has been sent in from a listener. Should a player who turns 35 be stopped from playing first team and combi football and made to play Masters? I think that's if they still want to carry on football. I don't think if they want to keep on. But it also says, what about some of these Masters players becoming referees and refereeing on a Saturday and play on a Sunday? This is something which would help the problem we've been talking about in recent weeks about the lack of referees and how hard it is to get people to take up being an official. Where do you stand on this, Carl Roberts?
Well, Carl, tell them about the conversation we had last week at the changing room with basically the whole of the Colby team. I was fascinated by it, and that's why I wanted this to be spoke about tonight.
Yeah, from a personal point of view, I've tried it once when I was I think it was a Russian game, and no referee turned up, so one of the lads from the other team did the first half, I did the second half, and personally, I just felt under pressure from all the players, and I couldn't communicate properly. As I was talking before, I could play football anywhere. Take me outside and play outside, but refereeing, and I guess maybe other lads have felt that, and they just don't want the hassle or the pressure of being chipped at by the players, and you don't seem to have any authority. But I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean,
all your players in that changing room on Sunday when I was there, and we were talking away, Teddy Pepper, Justin Hawley, and I asked them all: is there anyone in this room, if they didn't play Masters football, would you take up refereeing? No. And the answer was from all of them, no.
No. So you might get the odd one, maybe, but most of them were not interested. But that's my personal take on it. Well, that's my reason.
But there is a clear difference between playing football at whatever level and refereeing it, because I suppose you still get a bit of stick no matter what. If you're well known to all the players, it doesn't matter if you make a decision which some people feel aggrieved by.
Mr. Lewis is a classic case. He's the top man. He is it.
But it does raise a good point, and as I say, if you do have an opinion on this, 166 177 to text in or email studio@manxradio.com. Talking of Masters football. How would you sell it to somebody who comes to you and so on, thinking of packing in football on a Saturday? What would you say to them to encourage them to start playing Masters?
Well, the first thing is, I think there's an unwritten rule between us all, apart from the game last week, where there's no major heavy challenges going in. No one's kicking off. There's no sort of, when you're in your 20s or whatever, you've got a lot of adrenaline knocking around, and your elbows might go up at a corner or whatever. And I'm sure I've done that a few times to other defenders, and I've got plenty of it back as well. So there's no sort of serious tackling going on. Apart from that, it's just the same. It's just the same as it was. I feel obviously we're a bit slower, but
the football's still good.
Yeah, I mean, crikey, last week some cracking football going. I mean, they hit the bar. They had a penalty saved. We ended up winning 3-0, but obviously Hurty wasn't playing. That would have made him a bit stronger, but Lacey of course, as well.
But you look at players like Steve Corkle. Steve Corkle must be... He's going to put me 48, 49.
He's a couple of year older than me.
48, 49, and he, the injury list that he's got has been horrendous in football, but he still plays and enjoys it at 48, 49. Now, I know the recovery rates because I didn't play Masters football, but I know when I played a couple of times for Manx Radio in a game, the recovery rate is quite bad, isn't it?
Yeah.
About a week you start to walk properly.
Because I say with the facilities at Colby, we're very lucky. We get a lot of young lads coming down. I say dads and lads thing going on there on a Tuesday night. So I'm kind of ticking over once, twice a week in some cases. Yeah. So fitness wise, it's not so bad. But
do you think it's a case as well that I suppose when you feel your age catching up with you, and you feel like the enjoyment may start to be fading away, eroding from Canada Life or JCK combination football on a Saturday, the enjoyment does come back into it if you play Masters football, because it's not as fiercely contested. As you say, the challenges aren't as tough. And remember, it sometimes takes you a couple of days to shake off a knock that you get at the weekend, and it can't be pleasant if you're going full throttle every weekend. You might want to just take the foot off the gas, still play, still be active and play football, but just enjoy it a bit more.
And the other massive attraction is you're playing on the bowl.
Most of the
games
on
the bowl. I mean, I love playing on that pitch since I was a kid. So I don't know. There's maybe some lads that are knocking around in the late 20s that maybe haven't played on that pitch. I don't really know, because they just play on the home pitch, and it depends. It's St Mary's, if they play St Mary's, isn't it? So. What more do you want than playing at the Bowl? It's a magnificent place, and it's not like the mud baths of the Railway Cup finals from all those years ago. Yeah. It's a beautiful pitch to play on. So.
Would it help, do you think, Carl, because it's been muted a couple of times now, meetings, we always have a sort of end of season chat. We bring everyone in, and some clubs turn up, some don't. Last year's was brilliant because there's a few people came in and had some great ideas. Going down to 8 aside, 7 aside, half a pitch. My personal view is that'd kill it.
Yeah, no. I think hopefully I've kept it a bit quiet to my friends and my club mates. I'm on here tonight, and probably maybe they're not listening to it, but maybe we can get the word out and try and get these more guys involved. And the point I was trying to make about getting the 15-year-olds in, the conclusion of that would be that they're going to push the older lads out into the Masters games. That if you get more younger lads coming through straight in the combi, as soon as they're physically and capable of it, into the first team, and of course you're going to push the guys out into the Masters sphere. And the other thing, I think the other big thing is we can get this island trip thing back in, island team going again. I forgot to mention that earlier. Actually, you couldn't approach somebody like Poker Stars or any of those big guys, or the affluent.
My view is, being on the FA, I find it very difficult, or Frank Wood, Stennett, to approach a sponsor to sponsor Masters football when a quarter of the season or a fifth of the season are walkovers. That's damaged it. Yeah. That's damaged it. We need to make sure. Yes, there will be times come along where people can't fulfil fixtures and they haven't got enough players. But when they've got 9 or 10 players, I've done it. Just get on with it. Like this year, genuine reasons, we've lost 2 games, is because too many of the players are away that weekend, which affected us. So we need to tap into a few players that'll come and just play the odd game and stuff. But You can't go and sell something to a sponsor when, there's too many games, walkovers. If that rectified itself, we'd get a sponsor.
Well, I think you've hit the nail on the head. Finding a sponsor, we need more players to play Masters football. Just finally, rounding off, Carl, if you could, if people listening are interested in taking up Masters football, how do they go about that?
Well, you've got to have a dedicated guy, a manager, really. We're lucky we've got Bruce Fawn. He's been doing it for a while, and you just get a WhatsApp group, get all your mates in it, or Facebook closed page or whatever, and text around your mates and go about it that way. That's what we do. It's dead easy, I think.
Well, thanks very much for joining us in the studio this evening for Friday Football Focus. The half an hour has flown by. Tony Mepham, as always, it's been a pleasure. A good luck to all those who are taking part in sporting fixtures this weekend, and to all those listening, I hope you have an enjoyable weekend.